Yeah.
Absolutely. Aliza, will you mute everyone?
Yeah, that's
Yes, I'll mute everybody now.
Okay. Okay, so let me just see, get a better different view. Gallery, maybe that's better.
If you can just unmute yourself.
Right. Okay. Fine. So okay, fine. So let's start. I think people, there will definitely be people strolling in as it happens, but I guess we have a short amount of time. So let's try to make the most of it. So first of all, thank you all for attending. We really appreciate it. And it's a pleasure and really an honor for us to do this for you and with you. And to me, it's a very, very exciting to be honest. And I'll tell you why. Because this material is really material that really comes from my teacher and really the founder of Asia Torah and the founding, the idea of Project Inspire really came from Rabbi Weinberg, who was my teacher for 26 years, the founder of Asia Torah. And he was a person who was just, I was thinking as I was preparing this, he was a person who was, what a tremendous merit and joy I had in life that I had met such a person who had such wisdom for living, such insight, such clarity, was such a big person, a happy person, a loving person, caring person, and a person who was dedicated to making the world a better place. And this syllabus is really a tribute to him in a certain way. Why? Because this is really his Torah that he put together, and it also reflects in many ways who he was. What he was able to do in his greatness was to define what is it that we need in life to live our lives to the full, right? For ourselves and for others, right? And so these insights will both help us with ourselves in our life. And also, if you can learn and understand the insights, they're shareable with others. And that's what we're trying to do in this course, is give you, in a short amount of time, and I discussed it with Rabbi Simcha Barnett, who will be teaching this series together, please God, that, how do we give you in a short amount of time? We didn't want to burden you with too many classes and too much. We know you're all busy and so on and so forth. So how do we do this in a way that's most effective, that gives you the ability to hear the ideas, but not just that you hear the ideas and then you walk away and it's like they come and they go. So what we're doing in this, in what we decided as one way of doing, there are probably many ways, what we decided is, we're going to give you, for every insight that really we share, we're going to give you, let's say, a one-pager document, right? And you can take that one-pager and it's shareable with others. Now, we're not telling you, if you come on this course, you have to share it with others. We want to make this pretty simple. We don't want people to feel obligated and resentful that, oh, I came on this course and I didn't realize I had to do this and I don't feel comfortable. At the same time, we feel that if you take these insights and you share them, then you have 2 weeks to share. In this class today, you're going to get 2 insights, right, that we'll share. There'll be many more insights that I'll be hopefully giving over, but there's 2 insights that we're going to share with you, and we recommend share it with someone. Now, if you don't have someone to share it with, you can say to us, email me, or be in touch with Taylor, and just say, I'd love to share this with someone. I don't have someone to share it, and we'll match you guys up. If anybody wants that, we can match you up. Each person can share with each other, or else another way to do it would be to share with your family, with your children, with your friends, with anybody, right? Just it's a 5-minute idea share, take it and try to share it. So we're asking people to do that. Now, we're going to be giving this over several months, this course, and we would very much like it that people come on, that they commit to the series. That's what we would like to. Now, it doesn't mean we understand that people are busy and are not always going to make it. There were many people tonight that there was an event in Toronto, there's events in Bergen, there's many different things going on and people have their own lives, and we understand that from all of you. So if you can't make it, no problem. We'll send you the recording. I'd also like to as well send you a synopsis of the actual outside of the idea shares, but here's an overview of what we said, so you can review it that way as well. So we're very excited for you to be part of this. to learn it, so that really the goal here is that you become really what we powerful people who really understand the most basic insights in life for ourselves, for our families, for our friends, and for all of the Jewish people. And that's what we're going to be sharing with you. It's beautiful stuff. Sometimes people feel it's very simple. It is simple, but simple things are sometimes the most profound. So we're going to go straight into the first of several classes. We call these classes the Foundation Series. By the way, we'd like to, and I didn't quite finish the conversation with Rabbi Barnett and Kayla Lasky of what reward we'd like to give. But I personally feel that people that go through this class, this course, and did every course, we should, as an organization, we would like to reward you, because we feel that it's wonderful. Reward people when they do good things. And we'd love people to finish this series, and we'd love to be able to give you a reward for finishing it together with us. So maybe for the first 6 classes, every people who did that would give some kind of reward. So I'm just with that too, to be continued. We haven't quite worked out what it is, but I'm just letting you know. Okay, so let's go on to the first of these, what we call foundational series. There's Foundations of Life, and this is the first, and we're calling it, the first one is based on a class of Rabbi Weinberg called The 4 Misconceptions People Have About Judaism. Tonight, we're going to try to cover 2 of those 4 misconceptions, and we'll do the next 2. But what is this? This is basically a statement that there are 4 prevalent misconceptions people have about Judaism, but in some ways, because there's a misconception, it blocks their ability to really appreciate Judaism and to get involved in Judaism. That's all of us, and they apply to us to some degree as well. So what we're going to do now is just bring this out. There's a little story that I often share, and it goes like this. And it's sort of like, I was very fortunate to spend 10 years studying at Aish Torah, which is Aish Torah's College of Jewish Studies, a rabbinical college. I became a rabbi there. I lived there in the old city. I was very fortunate. I lived there for 10 years. And, as you lived in the old city, it's a wonderful experience. There were certain things that happened. And one time, or many times, the following thing might happen. And all of the students who were learning there in the yeshiva, in the school, would basically know what is going on. And it's the following: that if you were walking through the old city and you saw 2 people who were backpackers, right? And you go over to them and you get into a conversation with these 2 Jewish people that they just did Nepal, and and they're going through Israel. They came to Jerusalem, and they're going on to do Europe. And it's fast. And then at some point they ask you, so what do you do? So we would answer them, if we would tell them I go to a yeshiva, they would know what a yeshiva is. So we would explain to them what it is. So what is it? What is a yeshiva? You would explain to them, I study at a college of Jewish studies. And then we tell them, well, what is it that you learn there? So we tell them the Talmud, they wouldn't know what it is. So to explain to them, we study about life, how to get the most out of life, to understand what's meaningful in life, how to be happy, how to have successful relationships, how to use your potential to the full, how to understand what the meaning of life is. Now, you would sometimes, if you might have 2 reactions. One fellow responds, and he's like, wow, that's fascinating. Wow, can we come and see it? I mean, that sounds like amazing. But the other guy, he's looking at you, and he's like, I don't know, if we want to really see it, we were going to go to the Israel Museum. He's like, he's sort of like backing off a mile, right? So why did this phenomenon happen, right? So we often understood that the guy who's really, really interested, he's not Jewish, right? Now, but the guy who's backing off a mile, I'll explain that in a second. The guy who's backing off a mile, right? Why is he backing off a mile? Because you know what? He's got all kinds of ideas in his head of what Judaism is. And because of those misconceptions of what Judaism is, he looks at Judaism as being a threat to his life. And so this is dangerous stuff. He has red lights flashing. He wants to get me out of here. The last thing I want to do is end up in a yeshiva and maybe get involved in Judaism. Why? Why is that? because just to understand, the non-Jewish person has a benefit, has an advantage, right? Because he's not threatened by this, right? Because he looks at it for what it is and says, wow, that really sounds fascinating. There's no threat to him because he doesn't see it that, oh, maybe I should be involved in this. So he just takes it at face value, which is a beautiful thing. But the Jewish person is like, you know what? This really should be me. And you know what? And I'm thinking that there's something about this that might be threatening to me, might be like, I don't know, get me out of here, right? So why am I sharing this story with you? Because what's really going on in the head of this Jewish person is he has misconceptions about Judaism. And because he has misconceptions, that forms his view of Judaism. And because he sees it that way, right? So then I want out, get me out of here. What we're trying to do in this class is basically take those misconceptions, show why they are misconceptions, show what the truth is, what's the truth that's the reality, that's not the misconception. And therefore, if you could turn those misconceptions around in his mind, and to the extent that we have it in our minds, turn them around, then we think when we mention Judaism to ourselves or to someone else, go, wow, that's beautiful, I love it, I want it, right? Because I've taken away the misconceptions about how bad it is or whatever it is that I have in my head, right? So that's what we're trying to do. So in each misconception, we're going to basically try to do the following things. Understand, number one, why it's a misconception. Number two, how can I share it with somebody else that it is a misconception? And number three is each of these misconceptions gives us a practical way of educating, of sharing the wisdom that we have with others. And we'll see as we go through it, what we have to learn in terms of educating and helping others in terms of their growth and their connection to Judaism. So the first of the misconceptions is the following. And this is really the misconception that really keeps most people away from even coming in the door to a relationship with their heritage or with Torah, is the following, that people feel that religious Jews look down on, or religious Judaism, let's say it better. Religious Judaism looks down on non-religious people, right? It considers them to be bad. That's the first. So I'm saying that's a misconception. Now, I'm not saying it's a misconception that there are Orthodox Jews and religious Jews who look down on other Jews. There are, right? But we're saying that's not part of Judaism, right? It's not part of Judaism. So how do I explain, and how could you explain to others that is not the case? So I'm going to share with you our first idea share, right? And that idea share is a one-page idea share, which you're going to get. And as I said earlier, that we'd love for you to take that idea and during the next 2 weeks, share it with others. So the first thing is like this. The Talmud asks the following question. If someone would put a gun to your head, God forbid, right? This is a scenario from the Talmud, and say to a person, somebody puts a gun to someone's head and says, we're going to kill you unless you kill an innocent person, right? So what is the Jewish law? Can you kill an innocent person to save your life? You understand the scenario? Someone putting a gun to someone's head and say, I'm going to kill you unless you kill this innocent person. Is he allowed to kill the innocent person to save his life? What do you say, ladies? So I'm not sure if you're all muted, but I'm getting some no, you can't, right? Okay, you cannot, and you are, everyone says no, so you're right. And that is correct. Now, why is that? Why can't you kill an innocent? So you know why? The Talmud says a very famous line, which is the following. It says, you don't know whose blood is redder, right? Which means to say, you don't know who the better person is in God's eyes. And therefore, that's the reason that the Talmud gives. You can't kill this person because maybe he's a better person in God's eyes than you. Okay, now I want to ask a follow-up question. And the follow-up question is like this. Imagine someone put the gun, same scenario, to the greatest rabbi in the world, right? The greatest, the wisest, the biggest tzaddik, the most righteous person, and says, we're going to kill you unless you see this guy over here. He's a good-for-nothing layabout. He pickpockets people every day. You don't want to know how he treats his wife. He's just a good-for-nothing parasite of society. So someone puts the gun to the big rabbi's head, and you kill him or we kill you. So I'm asking you the same question in this situation. Can this big, yeah, Bathsheba's ahead of the game. Whoa. Can you, I see there's chats over here, right? Okay, good. Can you kill, so Aliza Pressman, it's there's the chat. Also, you cannot. The biggest rabbi also can't kill. How? So, but wait a second, let's just think about that. Why not? This is the biggest rabbi. What do you mean you don't know whose blood is redder? What do you mean that this guy isn't a better person in the eyes of God? What are you talking about? This guy's the biggest rabbi. He's the wisest man. He's the biggest tzaddik, the most right. And this guy is a lowlife. Let's call a spade a spade. So why can't he kill him? Don't we know who's the better person? This is the genius and the greatness of the Torah. The answer is no. We still don't know who is the better person. Why? Because there's only one person that judges people, right? One being, and that is the Almighty, right? We don't judge people. We're not allowed to judge people. Why? Why is that? Because you don't know what his chemical makeup is. You don't know what his genetic makeup is. You don't know how he was brought up. You don't know his father wasn't Jack the Ripper and his mother wasn't any better. You don't know. You just don't know, right? And you don't know even what good deeds he or she has done that on her level for where she's at might outweigh all of your good deeds. You just don't know. And there's only one being that knows who that is, right? Who's greater, and that's the Almighty. And that's why we say, it says in Ethics of the Fathers, don't judge another person until you reach his place. Meaning, because you can't judge him, because you don't know if you're in the same position as him or her, you truly and honestly don't know that you wouldn't be doing the same or even possibly worse. And therefore, right, this is the Torah concept of tolerance, that we believe in Judaism, that every human being is made in the image of God. Everyone has infinite potential, and that we can look at each other in the eyes and say, I don't judge you as a person. I sincerely believe that you could be a better person in the eyes of God than me. And more than that, the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos in Ethics of the Fathers says, Ezehu Chacham, who is the wise man? Halomed Mikol Adam, somebody who learns from everyone. And we should look at each other in the eyes and say, you know what? I have so much I can learn from you. So I want to bring this out a little bit further, because imagine, you saw a religious guy, he's wearing the black coat and the black hat, the whole garb. He's got it. And you see this guy and he goes into McDonald's, right? And he sits down and he has a Big Mac and a chocolate milkshake, right? Now, outside of the fact of giving him the benefit of the doubt that he's got a stomach ulcer and he has to eat right now, and it's, he has to save his life, he has to, no. This guy, between you and me, is going in to have a good time, right? And he just, for whatever reason, this is what he's doing. He's going in, he's transgressing the laws of the Torah from his a religious person, and that's what he's doing. So what would we say about such a guy? You know what we say? The guy looks religious. He's wearing it. He's not quite as religious as he looks, because, there's certain things that he's not quite doing 100%. Okay, fine. So I say the same to you. If a religious guy is walking down the streets, right, and he's meeting non-religious Jews, secular Jews, and he's looking down on them and he's judging them to be bad, you know what we say about that guy? The same thing. He looks religious. He's not quite as religious as he looks, because he's transgressing a cardinal principle of the Torah. Just like you're not allowed to eat non-kosher meat, pig, in the same way, Judaism says you are not allowed to judge another human being. You're not allowed to look down at them. You have to look at them as if they, and understand they're made in the image of God. And it works both ways, right? That it's true for sometimes religious people make mistakes too. And when we see a religious person make a mistake, we can be very judgmental. All of those religious people, and look what the hell, and I can't believe it. So we have to understand this works both ways. Religious Jews should not look down and judge non-religious Jews, and the other way too. That non-religious Jews shouldn't judge religious Jews. They're also human beings and imperfect and make mistakes. So this is something that an idea share that we have to understand. This is the Jewish definition of tolerance. We can't judge other people. Okay. Now, this is true in terms of if you want to help someone to grow, right? What we said is it's a prerequisite. Imagine I said to all of you, I'd love you to come to this class tonight and come onto this Zoom. And if you knew that everybody on the Zoom was looking at you and judging you and saying, you're a bad person, you're a bad, and I don't like, you'd say, what you'd say to me, Rabbi Santa, I'd love to come to your Zoom video, but I got to go to the Israel Museum today. I got a few things we all have a need to feel accepted and loved. And if we feel judged, we're out. So this is just not doing the negative. Meaning, what we're saying here is if you want to help people have a relationship with Torah and growth, then it's never going to happen if you judge them, right? That's why it says, again, in Ethics of the Fathers, love people. Oh, wait, there's a breeze from the Torah. Love people and bring them to Torah. You can't help people grow, utilize their potential, develop a relationship with God and Torah, unless you don't judge them. You have to love them. So now that's true of a relationship with a friend. It's true of your relationship with your children. If you come on too judgmental with your children, you're going to have a hard time helping educate them. This is not just a principle for bringing people back to Torah and introducing them to. This is a principle for all relationships. So I want to ask you, this is just the negative, what not to do. Don't judge people. What do you think would be the positive? Meaning, what we're saying so far is if you want to help people grow, and healthily, and have a positive relationship with the Torah, if you're the person who's trying to help them in that way, don't judge them. What do you think you should do? What's the positive that you should do? Okay, so this is Jennifer Levin already is saying, accept them and appreciate them. Beautiful, right? Don't judge them. Give them the benefit of the doubt, right? Appreciate them. Appreciate them would be, don't give them compliments, right? Don't just say, how about saying something nice to someone else, right? What else could you do that would be positive, a positive way to have an influence? Build a relationship with them. Okay, what else? Build a relationship. Okay, good. What are other things that you could do? Listen, fantastic. Rabbi Weinberg had a story of a guy. This is my last gun story for the night. A guy comes with a gun, goes up to a person and says, listen, you're going to listen to me now for the next hour, whether you like it or not. I've been trying to get someone to listen to me for years. I can't find anyone. Whether you like it or not, you're going to listen to me. We all have such a deep need to be listened to, right? So here we've got smile, empathize, but Sheva Yeva, also beautiful. If you could listen sincerely, especially with all these phones these days, it's like you can't get anybody to listen. If you can listen to people more than that, what about empathizing? Who says that? But Sheva Yeva, empathize with them, right? Not only listen, feel their pain, be there for them. Not more than that. And I'll tell you the last one, which is what is it do they need in life? How can I help them? I remember when I first came to New York, and I was working for Aish on the Upper West Side. There's a guy called Steve Eisenberg, who many of the students there at Aish, I asked them, how did they get involved? And they told Steve Eisenberg. So I went over to Steve Eisenberg, who was a friend of mine. I said, Steve, what is the secret of your success? You've brought so many people to Torah. It's unbelievable. So he told me the following thing, which I'll never forget. He told me, whenever I meet someone, my first question is, how can I help them? He said, on the Upper West Side, which is where we were, people need a shidduch, they need a job, and they need an apartment. So as soon as I meet people, I find out what they need. The next day in their inbox is, here's how to get an apartment. Here's how to get a job. Here's how to meet people. And so because he cared sincerely then he was able to have an effect on others. And that's true. Again, this is true for all relationships. I was teaching this one time and I was thinking, you know what? Wait a second. If I did this with my wife, don't judge, accept, compliment, listen, empathize, give, to what she needs. Is that would be the end of all my shalom bias, my relationship problem? Not that I have any, but I'm just saying that is the panacea. If you can do this, this is the way for your children, your friends, to have a really healthy relationship and help them use their potential and to grow and have a relationship with the Torah. So this is the first misconception, and so people feel judged. Judaism is judgmental. It's not judgmental. It goes against the principles of the Torah. There's only one being that judges. That's the Almighty. We're not here to judge. You should judge ideas and actions, meaning ideas. That's a wrong concept. That's truth we care about. You can't say things that are not true in philosophy and Jewish law. What's right and wrong, there are rights and wrongs. You do judge those things, but the person, the essence of the person, we don't judge, right? So let me just ask you, why do you think that we have such a hard time, and I think we do, with judging people? Why are we judging people so much? I don't know, if you could, I don't know, Elisa, if you can unmute, I'd just be interested to hear any thoughts, or you can keep it on the chat, but it's nice to hear.
Okay, I'll go ahead and unmute everybody. Give me 1 second.
Okay. Anybody, just a couple of ideas before we move on. Why do we have such a hard time? You have to realize we're doing this all the time ourselves. Why are we so judgmental about? They say that if a person's a little bit more religious than me, he's a fanatic. And if he's a little bit less of the religion than me, he's a heretic, right? It's going to be just where I am, just like me, you're okay, In fact, it's got to be me to be okay. Why are we so judgmental? What do you think?
Are we internally judging ourselves?
Oh, we got a lot of people at once. Okay, one person try speaking. Go on.
Are we internally judging ourselves at the same time?
Okay, yeah, that's very interesting. That's Beth, right? I think we sometimes are hard. That's why it says love your neighbor as yourself, right? We're hard on ourselves all the time. And therefore, when we're hard on ourselves, we naturally do it with others as well. I definitely think there's some truth to that. Anybody else? Yeah. Don't all shout at once. Come on. Don't be shy now.
By nature, people are drawn to negative, and we better and quicker find something negative in others than
that's
positive.
Definitely true. We're going to see that throughout the series. We are drawn to negativity. It's just easier to focus on the negative. It's much harder to give someone a compliment than it is to say to someone, that you did that wrong, or you did that wrong. Negativity is always easier. Any other ideas? That's definitely true too. One more person, come on.
We have our own insecurities that we're busy with our own insecurities.
Four. Good. Who's speaking?
Aliza.
Aliza, yes. That's what I think. That's what I was thinking. Is that we have our own ego issues and insecurities. It's so much easier to look down on others. That makes me feel better about myself. It's a little bit like what we call lashon hara, like gossip, negative gossip. Is we like to put other people down, and it makes me feel good about myself. But the reality is, you don't really feel good about yourself. It's cheap. It's a cheap and non-real way of. You really need to feel good about yourself by appreciating your own individuality and being non-judgmental about others. Is really part of that. Is that it is appreciating every single individual is unique, was put in this world, for their own purpose. It says that every human being is like a letter in the Sefer Torah, in a Torah, and every Torah, if one letter isn't there, it's considered it's not a kosher Sefer Torah. You take away that means every human being, every single Jewish person is needed in the Jewish people, no matter who they are. They're special, they're unique, they're made of infinite, and we have to live with this ourselves. So this is the first misconception. Now we have what I shared with you. Aliza, do you have the link for the idea share?
Yes. Give me one second
Just,
to get it.
can you just bring it on online, can you just show it on the screen?
Yes, the share one I'll share right now. The one for respect, right?
Respect, yes.
Perfect.
So we're going to send you this idea share. It's a one-page idea share, which it sums up what I just said. It's almost pretty much word for word as soon as we see it. If we don't see it, then we'll send it to you.
Yeah,
But
sorry, it's actually not letting me, but I'm going to put it in the chat box for everybody to see.
Okay, fine. So take that idea share, read it over, and share it. I just suggest share it. That way you'll internalize it more yourself, and people are usually fascinated by it. So okay, fine. We're going now on. That's the link. There's the link. You can. Oh, I shouldn't do that maybe because. Oh, okay, fine. Oh yeah, there it is. Oh, okay, fine. It's not okay. Forget about it. Okay. All right, fine. So let's go on to number 2. The second misconception is the following: that. Well, let me just hear. Misconception number 2 is that, and I want to start this way. Imagine that I said to you, you know what? I want you to keep Judaism, but on one condition. If you keep Judaism, you have to do what everybody in that room next door is doing. So you go into the next door room and you see that every single person there is shackled. It's got chains. It's chained to the ground, right? So let me ask you a question. If you knew if you had to keep Judaism, you're going to be chained to the ground for the rest of your life, do you think you're going to do it? The answer is no. Of course, Rabbi Samson, that's ridiculous. So look, many people feel that they get involved in Judaism, I'm going to be shackled by the Torah and all its laws, right? These laws are everyday. They are laws that are going to stop me from having the relationships that I want. It's going to stop me from going on the vacations that I want, eating the kind of food that I want, having fun. It's going to Judaism, if I get involved with that, it's going to take away all my fun and pleasure in life. Now, the reality is, I would say that this is something that even if you speak to Orthodox Jews, they also sometimes have this misconception. They think, you know what? He's right. He's right. I wish I didn't have to do all this stuff. So but that guy is wrong, right? It's a misconception. So I want to share with you why it's a misconception, right? And this is also an idea share that you should know for yourself and try to share it with others. So here's the second idea share, right? Which is if you would ask someone, what do you think a religious person would say to the question of what is it that God really wants from us? What do you think he wants from us? What does he want from us in this world? You ask, what do you think religious Jews think that it is? So what would they say? So they might say, you know what? He wants us to be good, right? Or he wants us to keep his commandments, or he wants us to make the world a better place, or he wants us to believe in him or to pray to him. And they may come out with answers like that. All of those answers are good, right? And have aspects of truth. But a way that we answered this question is in the following way. And the way the Torah answered this question is that we refer to God as our father, as a parent. We say in our prayers, Avinu Malkeinu, our father, our king. We relate to God as a parent. And if that's the case, and everybody understands that, and if that's the case, then we're like his children. So if that's the case, therefore, if we can understand what is it that parents, bottom line, want for their children, then that will give us an insight into what is it that God wants for us. Does that make sense? So that leads to the next question, which is what is it that parents, bottom line, want for their children? I'm seeing already that to be joyful, to be happy, right? So the bottom line is, is that yes, you want your children to use their free will, and you want them to belong and to accept others' difference. You want all of that. You want them to be healthy. You want them to be moral. But the bottom line is, if your children are moral and miserable, then you feel terrible. if they're healthy and miserable, That's not what bottom line with a parent. I just want you to be happy. I just want you to be happy. And we see that when a little baby is giggling and smiling and there's nothing that tickles a parent more. Wow, my little baby, wow. But when that little face, the mouth starts going sour and it starts crying, and you can't stop that baby from crying and yelling, oh, there's nothing that hurts a parent more than that. Because what we bottom line want for our children, we just want them to be happy. And all these other things are what we want for them in order for them to be happy, to be settled down, to get married, to all these things. I want them to live truly fulfilled lives. That's what I want for you, right? Just listen to me, will you? Right? That's what we So if that's the case, then our understanding is the same. That's what Hashem wants for us. That's what God wants for us. He wants us to have all the pleasures in life in this world and in the next. And it makes sense, right? Because our concept of God is an infinite being who's lacking nothing, right? And that's an infinite being means he's lacking nothing, right? So there's nothing you can give to God. He's infinite. So when we serve God and we pray to God, it's not when we pray to God and we go, the great, the mighty, and the awesome, and God goes, yippee, I was feeling a little down today. I need a little bit of a pickup, maybe a few holies, and I'll really be feeling good. That's ridiculous. God's infinite. We're not praying for him. So if we're not praying for him, who in the world are we praying for? Who, if we're not serving him for him, who are we serving? Why? You know what the answer is? We're serving God to enable him to give to us, right? That's what it's all about, right? He wants that the Almighty is here to give to us. And that's what this world is about. And that's when it makes sense even more that, it said that God created man and he put him in the Garden of Eden, right? That's where he put him. Where did he put him? In a garden. Now, what do you do in a garden? When you take out the deck chairs, you do a little bit of, on a nice Sunday afternoon, you might just do something with the flowers. Yeah, you go into the garden because you want to have a good time. God put us in the Garden of Eden to indicate that's what this world is about. He's putting us here to get Edenic pleasure, right? Tremendous pleasure in life. And more than that, what was the tree in the center of the garden? You know what it was? The tree of life, right? The tree of life. Now, the tree of life, what does that represent? We carry the Torah, we pick up the Torah in the synagogue in Shul. We go, Eitz Chaim, he, or whichever song you call, right? You see, it's Eitz Chaim, it's the tree of life. The Torah, which was the tree of life, represents the Torah, was in the center of the garden. Why? Because the whole point of the Torah is to help us get tremendous pleasure in life. And that's what the Torah is. The Torah calls itself Torat Chaim, an instructions manual for living, from the creator of the universe, how to get the most pleasure out of life in this world and in the next. And that's what the Torah is all about. Yeah. So we have to understand. So that's the idea, share, that we don't, this whole world is we say, Olam Chesed Yibane. God created a world of kindness. He created it to give to us. Ask not what I can do for my creator. Ask, what is it that I can do, that I can allow the creator to do for me? That's Judaism. And therefore the Torah is an instruction manual. It has 613 commandments, instructions, 248 positive, 365 negative. Each one is helping us grow so we can be full of human beings, so we can get the most pleasure out of life. We have another class on this called 5 Levels of Pleasure, which will go into 5 levels and counterfeit levels. I'm going to understand that a lot more deeply. But we have to understand that the Torah, and just think about it a little bit more, that the Torah, you see, is, imagine if I would come to you and I would, God forbid, there was somebody here and they seem to have a heart attack. And I would say, oh, give me a knife quickly. He said, why? I'm gonna operate. He said, oh, Rabbi Samson, we didn't know you were a doctor. I said, no, I'm not. I'm just giving it a stab. You would just say, like, everything okay, Rabbi Samson? You don't just give a stab. What about, your 17-year-old son or daughter comes and says, hey, can I have the car keys? I want to go and, give the car a spin. They said, oh, we didn't know you passed your driving test. She says, no, I didn't pass my driving. I just want to give it a spin. You say, no, don't play this game at home. She's crazy. You can't do open heart surgery if you haven't studied at medical school. You can't drive a car if you hadn't had driving lessons and you've taken the instruction on how to do it. Life is no less complicated than driving a car or even open heart surgery. But what we do in life is we lunge into life and we get married and we have children and we live our lives and we're trying to find happiness and meaning. And you know what? It goes sour because you know what? We didn't read the instruction manual. What's the divorce rate? Way above 50%. Why? Now I'm not, why? If you never learn the instruction manual, well, you've got to know how to do it. And it makes more sense that, if you were buying a plug, it comes with instructions. Put the red wire here, the blue wire there. If you buy a computer, it comes with a book. If you buy a car, you need oral instructions, right? Because otherwise you can put the plug in the wrong place and you'll blow yourself up, right? If God created the world, he must surely have created with an instruction manual for living how to get the most out of life. And that indeed is what the Torah is. So I just want to finish with a question for you, which is, if in fact, that the Torah and the way to get the most, to help people understand, see, this is why people are with going, I don't want to have anything to do with it, because they're looking at it, it's going to, red lights flashing, get me out of it, it's going to take away my pleasure. What we're saying is, no, it's going to give you pleasure, right? So if that's the case, if you want to share Judaism, our heritage, with others, what's the implication of this concept? What would you need to do to show them that, to help them in their journey in Judaism? What does this concept imply? What does that mean we should be doing as a way of helping a person have a relationship with their heritage and with the Torah based on this concept? What should we do, therefore? What does this imply? Do you understand my question? I got you baffled here, right?
But the importance of learning Torah, without it, then you don't have that instruction.
Okay, that's true. That's the second part. That you need an instruction manual for living from the creator of the universe. But I'm going on the pleasure factor, right? Judaism is about pleasure. Hashem wants us just to have pleasure in life. That's all that it is about. So if you want to share the beauty of our heritage with others, what do you have to show them? It's not a complicated question.
To live a life of simcha.
Okay, right. But okay, good. But yes.
Maybe the beautiful parts of Judaism.
Yes, who's speaking?
Me, Adina.
Adina, right, exactly, right. You want to show them the beauty of Judaism, the warmth, the pleasure of it. How do you do that? You don't want to show them, everybody. I think Steve Eisenberg used to say to me that people go to shul on Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. They're fasting, and it's a day of judgment. They should be going to shul on Hanukkah and Purim, right? Purim, this is, and I think he's right. That we need to be able to share with people the beauty of what we have, and that's why see the beauty of Shabbos. Go to Jerusalem and go to the Western Wall and have an experience of right there. So that's one way. Show the beauty of it and the warmth of it, so people connect to it because it is so profoundly beautiful and enjoyable. The second way is to share insights with them. People don't understand that there's so many insights. If the Torah is from God and its instruction, but manual for living, it says that our rabbis say, keep digging and digging into the Torah. Everything is in it. How to have better friendships, how to bring up your children, how to understand yourself, how to deal with every situation. It's all the Torah has everything in it. So to give people the insights, to share with people, we're going to get through the definition of love, the definition of happiness. We're going to get there. But when you can share these kinds of insights with people, then they say, oh, wow, there's something that's in it for me, which I never knew. right? That's profound and beautiful and insightful will help me. So show them the pleasure of Judaism because it's really there and they may never have seen it or touched it before, and show them the insights. So if you do these, so this is the second insight in Judaism, is that Judaism is about pleasure. The Almighty gave us an instruction manual for us to get the most out of life. We're in this world to become beings that are happy, that are joyful, that are full of life, and the Torah is the instructional manual how to get there. So we're going to give you two idea shares. One's called the pleasure principle, which is what I just explained to you in one page, and the other is respect, real true respect and tolerance. Those two insights, if you have the opportunity, and I recommend it highly, read it over. You can even read it to your family, or if you could do even better, share it without reading it, whichever way you do it. If you want to a chavrusa, a study partner, or to 5 minutes a week, you give one over, they give one over, and then next week you give one over. Let us know, and we'll organize that for you. But these are the first two insights, the first two misconceptions. Next time we'll go through the next two. But the first is don't judge people, right? Whoever they are, right? It's very easy for us to do. We're very prone to doing that. But that, if you're going to love people unconditionally, you've got to care about them sincerely and authentically, and then you have a chance of helping educate people and helping people use their potential, whether it's their wife, your wife. No, I don't think anybody here has a wife. You never know these days, but your husband, right? Your husband and your children and your friends and whoever it is, and all of the Jewish people. Don't be judgmental, and enjoy Judaism. The first thing, start with yourself. Make sure that you're enjoying it. And just make sure, do I take pleasure? Am I just going through it by rote and just, going through the prayers and just, do I feel the connection? Do I connect to it? The more you are happy in life and the more that you're getting from your Judaism, you can share that with others as well. So that's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. We're all on our own path. But these are the first two misconceptions. I thank you very much for joining us. And if you have any questions, by the way, anybody here can email me with any questions. We're here for you. We're thrilled that you're taking this course. And we hope that you will benefit from it personally, that you become powerful and insightful human beings. This is what Rav Noach lived with. He lived with it in such a profound way, and he was a truly great and powerful person. And it's true, if we can internalize these ideas, please God, we'll all become internally great, and then we share it with others, and we will help all of the Jewish people live on a level of happiness and love and taking pleasure in their Judaism and the relationship with God. And I give you that, my blessing, that should be for all of you too. So thank you very much. If anybody does have any questions they want to ask, we're officially over because we say we're done. We're done. If anybody does have any questions,
Rabbi Sampson, can I just add something?
Yes.
So unfortunately, the Project Inspire website is currently down. We're working on fixing the website. So the links are not currently working, but hold on to them, and hopefully within the next hour, the website will be restored. And then you can look up the source sheets.
Okay. So we'll give you those sources. And anyway, we'll email it to you, I think, as well. Hopefully we'll be able to email it to you. And also I'll give you the overview of the whole class so you can have it. But thank you, Ronnie, for joining us. I see you, and for switching on your Zoom. It's so nice to see you, and everybody. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask.
Thank you so much, Rabbi
So much.
Sam.
It's wonderful.
Pleasure, my pleasure. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Good night. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Kelly, do you want me to end the Zoom?
What's that?
Should I end the Zoom now?
Anybody else with any questions? And I think it doesn't seem like it, but I think we're done.
I put your email in the chat.
Nice to see you, Gabby. Nice to see you come from your first class with me. That's so nice.
Thank you so much, Rabbi. Thank you.
Thank you,
Nice.
Rabbi. Good night.
Very helpful information for me.
Yeah, that's so nice.
Appreciate. Yeah, learning.
My pleasure. Okay, great. Okay, thanks
Have a
very
good
much.
night,
Have a good night, everybody,
everybody.
and have a wonderful
Good
day.
night.